Uh-huh. The lie detector graph, body movements, breathing, ouch, measured at the diaphragm, at the chest, ouch, perspiration, blood pressure and heartbeat, probable lie response. Yes. Now, just so that we understand the misprision of felony, yeah. If you lie, yes, while taking a lie detector test about your knowledge of a federal offense, yes, you probably are incriminating yourselves, and there's some sort of crime about doing that. Now, for all the attorneys that are upset, don't be angry at me because I'm just trying to get my sons. Yes, I'm trying, yes, to use the court system of this nation and every nation. And when you decide that you're not going to enforce my right to have my driver's license put back the way that it was, you decided that for the rest of my life I'd never be able to drive again. Yes. And when you decided not to remove your protection order because of fraud, forgery, and violating my rights, you decided that I would never not have a criminal record. And when you wouldn't remove your dissolution of marriage, you decided that I would never be able to experience being a father, yes, to my 5 sons. Ouch. And then there's that whole decision not to prosecute Mike Van Proyen for the malicious harassment that Marilyn Van Proyen has experienced. Yes. And the exploitation of their adopted daughter. Yes. Now, I mentioned, yeah, that I wanted to speak to her, and you decided that she had to live with that individual for the rest of her life. Is that what you decided? Yes. Because at maybe 50 years old, ouch, well, she's got, how much of her life does she have left? It looks to me like law enforcement has made the decision that their lives are more important than my life. The lives of my sons, yes, the life of Marilyn and her kids, because of how important you are to each other. Ouch. Now, I'm really thinking that these forgeries are actual federal offenses, and the issuance of a dissolution of marriage, is an actual kidnapping. True. And the falsification of the information on my driver's license, it is a real felony. Ouch. And since you won't put it back, yes, and you won't allow me to speak to my sons or Marilyn, yes, you decided I'd spend the rest of my life just being in jail or maybe arresting me for not having paid child support. You decided, didn't you? That my life was so much worth less than yours. Hmm. Now, I thought when you issued court orders, you couldn't just say the person was crazy. When you arrested them knowing they didn't commit any crimes, you can't say they're crazy. Ouch. But you seem to think that you can. You can do whatever you want. You have a badge on, you have a gun, and anytime you decide that somebody's guilty, they're guilty because you decided. Yes. Now, there's what's known as light. Light is very important to me. See this individual sitting here? Yeah. He's reading. Oh, and he has a light right there. I used to read for hours and hours and hours. I was a big reader. Until you decided to sow your bee into me. Yes. So as to interrupt me every time I'm reading. Yeah. Because you had to be on them. Yeah. You had to sow the electric grid into them. You had to know what they were doing, what they were saying, what they were thinking. Yes. See, when I, yes, was reading, I didn't have to read through somebody and somebody didn't have to read through me. Ouch. Somebody didn't have to know my thoughts. Yes. Now, let's say that for the last, 10 years, that you decided that you are law enforcement and you're going to sew in and you're going to be on them. And you decided you would deprive the right of reading without having to have a bee on you. Yes. Now, this is me. For the first, let's say probably 40 years of my life. The first 50%, 5 times 7.6, about 38 years. The first 50% of my life, I could read by myself. There was no bee on me. And if there was, I had no knowledge of it. Right, right. Now, I was one of those that didn't just kind of read a few pages of a book. Yes. If I thought a book was good, and I usually did know within the first 30 to 50 pages, yes, I would sit there and read the whole thing in one sitting. Now, it used to be very important to me when I was single and when I was married. Heidi probably remembers. Yes. That I'd get a chair, right, and I'd sit there, and I'd read the book from page one to the end of the book, and I'd think about different parts of the book while I was reading it, because I didn't have any beyond me right now. Now, this is a very, very important example of spending my life. Let's say that I wanted to read by myself again. Yes. I didn't want any programming in my kids. Yes. I didn't want any sex puppet programming or war puppet programming. Yes. And I wanted to be able within the next, 10 years, yes, to say that I could sit in a chair, yes, and I could read, and no one would know what I'm thinking while I'm reading. Well, I only got 35% of my life left. If I spend another 12% of my life undoing what you did, yes, just doing some reprogramming involving sexual nerve endings, yes, there's a possibility, yes, that I might once again, one day, 10 to 12 years from now, be able to sit there by myself, and no one will have any idea what I'm thinking when I'm reading. Now, it used to be very important to me. Well, there are some thoughts. Yes. My mother remembers when I used to read. Yes. And then there was when I was in Denmark, I was an exchange student. I'd get book after book after book that was written in English, and I'd sit there day after day after day reading. Yes. And then there was me at Northwest University. As much as that library is used, I did use it a lot more than probably a lot of the students, stereotyping, where I would leave school every day after school, right, and I would go read. Yes. Now, reading, yes, without your technology right now, now it could be a multi-hundred-billion-dollar day, Sheriff, because of your bullshit technology has removed the availability of reading without somebody having to be on somebody. Ooch. Now, this is what I want. Right. I want to do some charitable work involving sexual nerve endings so that we can unsew what was sewn because of the sewing of the orgasm. And I want to be able to, yes, in approximately 10 years, be able to sit by myself and know that no one has any idea what I'm thinking about when I'm reading. Now let's say right now that you as a sheriff don't appreciate reading because your concern is being on them when they're screwing each other. Now it could be okay. Good job. It could be that if you don't appreciate how good it is to sit there by yourself in a chair with a nice reading light, yes, and reading a book, yes, from page one to the last page, and knowing you spent 6, 7, 8 hours by yourself, yes, because I'm not really a speed reader, but I am. My eyes don't really see when I start to read. Yes, he does. I will become engrossed in the actual book itself. It becomes a part of myself. And as I'm sitting there going page after page after page, I don't really realize how much I was fucking reading.